supposed to help me fulfill part of my that 368 plan where I film myself hosting a meeting and we're talking about informal walkthroughs. This is oddly a subject that, and I've been with GP now for 6 years. I know Rick's probably been there. How many years have you been with us, Rick?
21.
So in those years, I don't remember us ever having a conversation about informal walkthroughs, ever. I remember there were times that Roxanne would just show up, and then Amanda would show up, and then principals would come in and come out. So this is sort of one of those moments where I'd like to take some time and let's see if we can't discuss what we'd like. So like assuming moving forward that in pre-COVID or COVID and all that goes away, that we'd like more walkthroughs in our classroom. We'd like more involvement. We'd like to be more of an open style classroom, maybe a little more than we have been in the past. Mr. Edelman, do y'all have an informal walkthrough form that you already use?
Yes, we do. So it's in DMAC, and there's several forms that we can choose from. The one I always use is just it's curriculum based. It's just, and it looks a lot like what T-test would look like, right? The things that are in T-test, and yes. And really what I do, I just go in and just check what I see, right? So as things go on, I just check them off as this, that, or the other. I mean, you always got to understand that not everything's going to happen in a walkthrough. That's 10 minutes for the most part. So it's just, you just kind of look for those things, knowing that some things will be there and some things aren't going to be there, but that's just part of it.
Absolutely. So I tried to share my screen to make sure that you guys can see the agenda, and these are just basic talking points. We can add or subtract or go wherever this wants to take us. What should teachers expect from an informal walkthrough today? If you were going to do one back in April, what would you expect from that?
Hang on just a minute. Somebody's in here in just a minute.
Yes, sir.
So ask that again.
What should teachers expect from an informal walkthrough?
Really, it's just it really is just teacher come in and learn. It's just a snapshot of what's going on in the classroom. That's all it really is. I mean, we've done those snapshot walkthroughs before, right? And I know some of those y'all have seen, but it really is just you're looking what's going on during that 10 minutes, 15, whatever you want to be, however long you're there, and there's no set time that it has to be, and so you're just monitoring, seeing what's going on in the classroom. But you've also got to understand the expectations. Everything, all times are going to be different. There may be lecture going on, or then kids may be taking a test, or maybe working on a worksheet. That's all part of class. And I thought about that when you asked me to come. I thought, well, what would I look for? And really, are the kids really engaged in what you're asking them to do at that time, right? So if you're having a discussion, are they involved in the discussion? Are they working on a worksheet? Are they working on a worksheet? Are they taking a test? Are they doing are they doing the things that you're asking them to do at that point in the lesson? Okay. Right? So engagement really can look like it can look a lot of different ways, right? But it really is about, are the kids engaged, and are they participating and doing what you've asked them to do in class?
So I think that kind of transitions us into the next point. What are the targeted areas of observation? So on that DMAC sheet that we're using, what are the main focus points? If you have to pull that up, pull it up if you need to. If not, if you remember it, then that would be perfectly fine.
Hang on just a minute, Tyler.
Email Jay.
It's over at the top of my computer because I actually have DMAC up, and hang on. Let me go back. T-test.
For everybody else, by the way, I put a little sign-in sheet. That's for my purposes. It's like a little forms quick thing. It's in the chat.
So on a walkthrough, I'm sorry, I'm going to peek over here. Hang on just a minute. So on the walkthrough is, and I don't know, some of you can look at, I mean, I've sent them to some, like I did walkthroughs. It's that form that if I come into your room, it's the same one. It's what I would use. But it's all the domains, right? So it's actually is instruction. Out of the instruction piece of T-test, it's domain 2 is what it is. Okay. So is it achieving expectations? When you look at it, it's things like challenging academic expectations. It challenges students. Seeking evidence of student mastery. There's all sorts of them that go through. So you go through 2, and then you go through 3, the learning environment, and those are the main ones.
Okay.
So it's routines and procedures on domain 3, routines and procedures, student behavior, student engagement, and it's all those things.
Okay. So the next sub point of this one is, how often should teachers have informal observations? Ideal world.
Well, that's a $1 million question. I'm going to tell you what the district would like for us to do. Okay.
Let's start with there.
So I'm going to give you what they want you to do and what actually happens, but they want that every administrator on the campus to do 1 walkthrough per teacher per semester. Right? So that means that roughly I would do 180 walkthroughs per year. Now, that's what they want.
So you would do another job.
And I tell you what, I've always, and I said this, and it went in one ear and out the other. There's a huge difference between high school and elementary school, right? We have roughly 90 teachers, right? They have a third of that. I don't think those expectations are equitable.
I think that's probably fair.
Right? I mean, that would be, that's their expectation. Does it happen? Well, it didn't happen, right? Because life gets busy. Asking, because Jay, Jackie, what happens to them? They have all good intentions of doing that, and the drug bug shows up, or things just get in their day, right? And so it just didn't happen.
So I'm going to ask the rest of everybody, because otherwise this could turn into a you and me just talking. So how often do the teachers in this dialogue, how often would y'all like to see informal observations happening? Assuming that they're going to, and that they're going to start happening more frequently. How often would you like to see different people in your classroom?
So when I was at Rockport, I've been in a few different districts and it's been different. When I was at Rockport, and the first part of the year, they did it where somebody was in our room once a week and they were doing all the informal observations, and teachers would get mad. A lot of them think it was a gotcha, but it really wasn't. It was more of a, they really were helpful, and the teachers would be like, oh man, that's a great thing. Or the principal would be like, oh, that's a great thing you did there. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's really a good thing, and they can help you and they can work with you. But like Kai said, is like toward the middle of the year, it started to go down a little bit, and by the end of the year, it was back to a normal thing. But I like having them come through and see what we're doing, and kind of going to give you that feedback, because you don't know. I mean, sometimes you think you're doing something great, or you think it's something that is awesome, and then they come in and, well, maybe you should be doing this, maybe you should be doing that, or you think you're not doing that great of a job, and they come in and say, man, that was one of the best things I've seen.
I can get on board with all that. How about you, Mr. Donquist?
I agree. I was thinking that once per semester is fine where I am at in teaching, but I know that I asked Ms. Cade to come in several times. I didn't like when Mr. Kane came in because he focused on the kids' dress code and everything to get me wrong. Mrs. Cade came in and said, how are you teaching? Are you reaching the kids? And I like that. I think as a new teacher, I would think that you'd want to be in there a little more often to make sure they're doing well. But for the old dogs that are out there on campus, I mean, I'm not going to say, I'm thinking once per semester, but even some of them once per year, just because we've been there, done it, we're leading others. If you know they're a quality teacher, then you can, I don't know that you need to be in there as often.
Yeah, and Rick's exactly right. There's a big difference between going into, I mean, anybody on the screen, right? I mean, you're all excellent teachers. There's a big difference between going into somebody who's fresh out of school and going into Mr. Schutz's room, right? What in the world, it's just different, right? I mean, the one that's fresh out of school, somebody needs to be in their room on a regular basis, and really it's helpful to them.
Yeah. And
It's helpful to them to give them give them feedback. It's helpful to them to reassure them that what they're trying is good and you appreciate what they're trying to do. If you have suggestions about how to, what's, and really opening up to asking them what can I help you with, right? What are you struggling with?
Right.
But that's where you need a good, and I wish we'd always done a little better job. I really wish, not just necessarily that I was in the rooms a lot more, but I think it'd be helpful if Rick was, if he had a brand new social studies teacher, right? That Rick would have time to go into that room and just give them real colleague to colleague feedback and, just experience. That would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, and see, that's funny you say that because, sorry, Tyler, that's funny you say that, Kai, because that's what I was thinking is that I would love to be able to go in as a department head and just watch what teachers are doing. But I know that, as Corey said, a lot of times the teachers, when I'd ask, can I just come in and watch what you're doing, they would feel like I'm looking for something wrong. Sometimes I'm looking for what you're doing that I'm not, that, hey, that would help me too. So it goes both ways.
Well, and that's where that's got to change. That's a mindset that it's not that I gotcha mindset. That's not what it's about, right? But people got to understand that it's really I'm here to help. I'm here to.
What does that help look like? That's actually the very next talking point. So this makes perfect sense. So what does that feedback actually look like? So when you give us that document in DMAC and we see it and we can read it, one, let's ask Mr. Edmund, what do you anticipate us doing with that? And then number two, for all the other teachers in the room, what was the most useful constructive feedback you've ever received professionally, and what did you do with it?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I use it a lot. I like to emphasize positive is what I look for. I'm not in there looking to play gotcha. I want to look for the good stuff. If we need, and then I think it also is a conversation starter too, where you can, if you want to talk to somebody about it, it's just a good conversation. This is what you did well. I mean, there's a lot of times you can ask people, what do you think didn't go well? People know, they'll tell you, right? I wish I'd have done this better. I wish I'd have done that better. And those are good conversations. And then you just sitting there having a conversation with somebody, helping them work through. You guys know me, I'm not one to, we have to do this, do it this way or else, right? I want you to help find your way and what's going to work for you because, the way that Jenna and Jamin and Rick and all you guys teach, you're all really good teachers, but you all teach different too, right? And to make you all fit into one shoebox that's not appropriate.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Let's say, and the feedback I prefer is just having the conversation, like Kai was saying. I mean, yes, you have to have it all written up, but I want to have a conversation with you because sometimes some things are lost in translation there. And I do like the way Kai does it. It's very positive, and he looks at the positive things. I've been at places where I've had administrators where they find every little negative thing and just make it a gotcha. And there are administrators out there like that. I feel fortunate that we don't have any really like that here. But again, the best feedback I think is being able to have that conversation. That's better than anything.
And I agree. That conversation is fantastic. I've had several with different administrators. I don't know if I can pick one out. Mrs. Cade, I asked her to come in one day because I could not reach my class. I was doing everything I could, and she watched me and said, "I don't know what else you could do either. It's just a class of turd heads, and they don't know what they don't want to learn." I've had other conversations where Cade and I have talked and said, I really got to work on my communication with the parents. So I went and started a blog, and that was a total failure. But that's part of what I want from the discussion is, what am I doing right? And it builds relationship with the administrators. But at the same time, when they say, here's an area I'm wondering about, that should lead me to where can I get some help and where can I get some training?
So we'll be jumping around a little bit, but that's actually okay. Part of that was, this all ties back in together with different ideas, but should informal walkthroughs help develop or select professional development? And I know that's been an area, I know me and Mr. Donkey have talked about this consistently. We've gone to a couple of professional development trainings where we all said, I'm not real sure what we were supposed to have taken out of from that. I bet if I was a second grade teacher, I think a rolling dice and would have been great, but for 17-year-olds, it doesn't necessarily apply.
Right.
That's because professional developments are targeted towards the elementary levels. I haven't been to a single secondary mathematics professional development that doesn't require small group centers, hand holding, and kumbayas. That doesn't work.
I'm sure Jamin can echo that as the now calculus teacher. So I don't envy you, buddy. My question here is, Mr. Edelman, how have y'all as an administration traditionally used the data points that you collected from informal observations? I know there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I really did like it was the ones we did, I just said it a while ago, that where we came in and oh gosh, help me there. We came in groups, right, and watched classes day, looking for specific things, right? Not necessarily instruction. Like the last one we did, and we really didn't do it. It was 1819, right? When before we left. 1920 before we left, was what's an area we think we need to target? All right, we need to work on, and it was really remember ours was student engagement, right? Mm-hmm. And it was so you would just walk into the room, and that's another way to do. You talking about informal walkthroughs. Was we weren't looking for anything else, and even the groups of teachers, the teams were looking for nothing else than student engagement, and not just student engagement, but at what level was the engagement? Was it one or two word answers, right, or was it really having a discussion where kids were giving giving their opinion, giving a lengthy their thoughts on it, right? And so that's what we're looking at. So when you look at that, and it's just like, oh man, and you take that data and that information and go, well, golly, 90% of the classes that we walked into, it was nothing more than one or two word answers, right? There's not really an in-depth types of discussion that where you can really say the kid gets it, right? They understand the concepts. But see, that kind of information should drive professional development, right? So if we're not doing well in that, that's what you ought to make that an emphasis. But your professional development ought to be geared towards, let's just say the student engagement, right? How do you get kids to give more than a one or two word answer? How do you structure your class? How do you structure your lessons to draw that and dig that out of kids? That's what that ought to look like.
Absolutely. So for the sake of also kind of moving along, I got one more full topic. So we've all established what we want out of walkthroughs. We're going to establish that they're going to happen a little bit more frequently, and we want feedback to be very positive. What kind of document would you like to see be given to you? I think the post conference, I think we have to be careful calling it that because that has like some T-test implications. And unless I'm wrong, I don't think informal walkthroughs really count towards your T-tests in one way.
Tyler, say that, but they can, right?
They can.
Because T-test is not just the observation. T-test is really a snapshot of the whole year. Okay. So if I did your observation and it was like, that part wasn't really right, you didn't, one part wasn't very good, but then I do a walkthrough and it's like, wow, that's fantastic. I can always go back and change that T-test document. Okay. Right now the observation, but you could make a change on the end of the year, the summative. You could make a change on that if you needed to. That's why it's really is a year-long kind of thing. But it also can go the other direction too. I hate to say that, but it could go the other direction, right? You know, somebody goes in and does a dog or pony show, but then if you do walkthroughs and it's like, well, then they're listening to phones and not doing jack, right? That can you can change an evaluation if you need to, that the other direction too.
Okay. So then let's open this up for the teachers if we can. Let's pick 4 areas that you would like to see an informal walkthrough, or just walkthrough. Let's stop calling it an informal then. What you would like to see a walkthrough look for. They don't have to look for it every time, but like let's say you're going to see an administrator. Let's say if you saw the principal and all the assistant principals once, that's 4 walkthroughs. Let's see, these 4 areas would get targeted at least once. What would you like to see?
When I was thinking about this, I started thinking I really would like them, and this is what Kite has always done, how effective is my teaching? And that's basically based on, I hate to say it in any other way, but do I love teaching? We all know, we've all had teachers that stand up there and just blah, 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 and they don't love teaching. The kids are falling asleep. So how effective is my teaching method? You know, Mrs. Kate pointed out to me one time that she said, did you realize that you stay on one side of the room? I said, oh, no, I don't. No, I didn't. So, you know, that changed it. So more for me, how effective is my teaching? What am I doing right? And what questions do you have in the sense of what didn't you understand and where do you see I could use some more help? So, I mean, that's basically what I'd look for.
I think pedagogy is a word that I don't know. I think y'all can see my notes. So pedagogy is what I'm writing down for that. I think that's methodology and pedagogy. I think that's a fantastic category. What else do you want? What else would we want to have in there?
I think it's probably kind of along the same lines, but the big thing for me is the environment that we're teaching in there. Do the kids feel comfortable? Like I teach older kids. I teach, juniors, seniors mostly, and I have to be able to have real conversations with them, and I have to be able to talk to them. Do they feel comfortable talking to me and opening up with me? Okay. And if you're in a classroom where everything has to be this way and it's real rigid and they don't feel comfortable opening up, then I'm like, and this goes back to, is my teaching effective? No, probably not. If they're not opening up to me and we're not talking about things and we're not, especially when I was doing financial math. I mean, that was a thing where we had to have real conversations about real life stuff. And if they can't talk about their personal stuff and personal experiences, then we're not getting anywhere.
It's an age-old adage, they don't care unless they know you care.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have that going for you, then you're not going to be real good at this.
You got to understand, too. Yeah. You better understand that Jenna's class is going to look a whole bunch different than Jamin's class is fixing to look.
Great.
All right? That is a completely different age animal.
Yeah, for sure.
That that's going to be to think that Jenna's class is going to look like Jamin's that's an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, I think
maybe we need to have some room for differences. You know what I mean? You can't put it all in the same box like you were saying. There's got to be room for differences. We're looking at seniors versus 6th graders. I mean, that's you got to have the control. And
I always think about I'll use Mr. Schutz again, and Tyler, you're really good at this. Rick, you're good at it too. But I've gone in and done observations, in Bill's class, and I guarantee I'm in there and I look down at my pad and I've written about 3 things. But the problem is, he was such a marvelous lecturer that you almost get lost in what he's talking about.
Right.
I mean, he was that good of a lecturer. Now I can go to other people's room and do nothing, and I don't write anything because I've fallen asleep. Right? You know, I'm back there, right? I mean, it is so. It's just not a good, right? So, and that's what but you went. What I'm getting at though, that's what you talking about the kid, right? The engagement of the kids. Are they in tune with what's going on in the classroom and with that person?
I'm going to put engagement. I think engagement is like a classic staple of this. I think it has to be in there. So I'm glad that you said that. So, what's up, Coach? You're kind of late on the meeting on this one, but that's okay. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to resubmit your sign in for the in the chat box, man. So that way, if you just sign in, you can join on when you can. And so we'll probably only got like 3 or 4 more minutes too, man. So it's gonna be okay. So just to fill you in real quick, we're talking about things. You're having these informal walkthroughs that are taking place. What is something, if you were given a document that said this is the feedback from what we were observing for you that day, what is something that you would want to see in that observation? So we already have pedagogy or methodology, we have classroom environment, and then you have engagement. We're looking for 4. We want 1 more, and then we can I can create this and send it to everybody.
I mean, I guess use of technology, especially with the year that we just had. I mean, if you're not using technology in your classroom at this point, I mean, then what exactly are we doing? You know what I mean?
I'm actually okay with that one. I like that. Use of technology and then how the role was that. But in my mind, Jenna, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I agree.
I may throw in a 5th one, and let's see if everybody agrees. I believe in rigorous questioning. Like, what's the actual level of academic pursuits happening in the class?
But doesn't that depend upon the clientele that's in the classroom at that time?
No, I think you can have. I don't think it's a moving target. I think high level of rigor is high level of rigor. If I was in
But
James
if you
Financial,
have a group of SPED 504 and 1 GT student, of course you have to reach all of those levels, but you're not going to get, like, if you have a whole 50 minutes of a GT leveled course questions, those SPED kids are gone, and then your classroom environment's gone, then your engagement is gone, and then how truly effective is your teaching?
Yeah, so I think you took that and went in a really, really different direction. So, which is okay. So I think when you ask questions to a classroom, and everybody can disagree with this or they can agree, we can chime in. I think the best way to do that is you ask questions, you can ask your lower level questions, you allow them to build on it, let them reach for something, and then allow your GT kids to reach for something higher. Let them keep expounding on things. You don't have to ask a standard question and leave it there. You can allow and facilitate discussions that can start at a base level and then grow through the classroom. I think that's manageable irrespective of your grade level or your classroom. But if we don't want the 5th one, we don't have to do the 5th one.
Some people are really good at digging things out of kids too.
Mm-hmm. Right?
They're masters at, the kid will give a response and they just keep dragging it out of them, right? And then you look up and it's like, wow, this got a lot of information out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you could use one of the things from that first form you sent out for number 4 and combine it. That would combine 4 and 5. Varieties of tools and strategies used in the classroom.
All right.
Not the short one, the one that's the one I like better than the other 2. Yeah, it's,
Okay. Variety, instruction, and differentiation.
yeah, because that includes different tools, technology, how you reach peak kids, how you differentiate.
And that's going to give us a 4, which is clean. So I've actually taken up 5 more minutes of y'all's time than what I promised. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining this meeting. Please, I know I sent the link out. Make sure if you'll sign in on that form. That's for me. They just like to make sure that I'm not, as if we weren't videoing this, so it's not fraudulent anyway. But it's all from me. Again, I thank everybody. I'll hang around if you want to keep talking for a little bit, but I'm going to stop recording. But if you want to leave, feel free to leave.